Hopefully you have your whiskeys poured. Andrew just shared the lineup there. I will share the one pager PDF file if you guys missed it in the invite. If you want to follow along on that with the blind portion. This being a blind tasting, of course, we run through it twice. We'll go in order 1 to 7 and give our thoughts on them. And you guys are welcome to chime in the chat. Keep some in your glass, and we'll go through a second time for the reveal of how old that whiskey is, where it's from, and how much it's going to cost you. Before we dive right into things, though, let's take a look at what we have coming up for tastings, because we do have a few new ones that Andrew and I and the rest of the staff have just launched. If you haven't seen it yet, we do have the Turntable Whiskeys with Allie and Gordon Stevenson coming up. That'll be a fun tasting. It's Allie and Gordon have started a blending house after working in the industry separately for about a decade plus. And everything they do has a musical bent or a musical theme to it. I've tried 3 of the whiskeys already, and they're pretty fantastic blends at a really good value. So take a look at that. After that is fawning over Fetter Cairn and Unicorns. Fetter Cairn tasting that we've been talking about it for a bit doing, just because there are official bottlings of Fetter Cairn now. And a lot of us, like me, do not have any clue what Fetter Cairn is all about and what their actual style is. There's a society bottle that is recent in that one as well, but it should be a fun lineup. And as Andrew has posted it, the distillery turns 200 this year. No idea how old that unicorn is. Probably about the same age. This one's a new one that was just launched, the Torveg Distillery and More virtual tasting, including 3 special bottlings of Torveg that will be. Will this third one be available, Andrew?
Yeah. Well, it's coming in August. It's coming sometime this month, which is why we
Cool.
put this tasting up now. So we'll have 3 expressions of Torveg, the 2 Mossburn blended malts, which are both excellent, and then the Castile or the Castle Chamus. I always get the pronunciation wrong. It's Gaelic spelling, but it's going to be a cool lineup. It's only $25, and you can learn all about a new distillery and the company that owns it.
Yeah, I thought it was ShamWow, like the scrubbing thing.
It's not very absorbent. No.
Okay. After that, if you want to scroll down there, Andrew, another new tasting. This is showcasing a couple new Berry Brothers casks we have, and pitting them against other independent bottlings from either the same distillery or in the same style, which the blended malt and the NAS 17 are. Should be a fun one. The Linkwood and the Blair Athol that we've just released, if you haven't tried it yet, are fantastic, and that's a good way to try it out. Next up is an in-store tasting. I was really happy with this this photo that I dug up from Springbank Distillery on my tour there. This is Where's the Smoke, a peated whiskey tasting that Harmony will be leading, dealing with 6 or 7 different peated malts, maybe all from Scotland, maybe some from elsewhere. We'll just have to wait and see. But, when Andrew and I were at Springbank Distillery in 2019, one of their staff, I'm assuming, had placed a hand on there, so I just decided to put Here Lies Pete with that. Next up, Bernard's got a sake tasting. Natalia is doing a Ukrainian language wine tasting, which should be a lot of fun. And then back to the virtuals, we have the whiskey sponge. The end is nigh, which we'll be probably discussing a little bit. Is Angus going to be in on that?
No, it's just going to be KWM team on this one. But
cool.
He said he would end the series at 100 bottlings, but there's more to decadent drinks than whiskey sponge, and he's now spawned off Westy sponge, Isla sponge. There's other sponges, but the whiskey sponge numbered series, I think, is coming to an end. So
I wonder if he's going to end cognac sponge and rum sponge at 100 then too.
That would be ambitious.
Yep. After that, in store is diving into gin, wine and pizza tasting with Stan, and then Diageo special releases retrospective. The Diageo tasting should be a lot of fun. I actually just tried that Glenkinchie 27 the other day, and I was pretty impressed by it. Really well done, and it's not often that you get to try Diageo bottlings outside of the Lagavulin 12 at cask strength or at a higher strength. So it should be a pretty cool tasting lineup. And then Indies from the West Indies, independent rum tasting, featuring a trio from Berry Brothers, a trio from Boutique Rum Company, pardon me, and then another one from Bira, which is a pretty cool little bottler doing South Pacific and South African rum bottlings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some cool things coming up, but that's not why you're here. Evan, we should jump in
Yeah.
and get into the range. And I know you got to pull up the thingamajig, but I need to state right off the bat, there's something different about the first one.
Yeah,
I,
and
I can't put my finger on it.
I don't think Kelly actually hit a lot about it. Um, it is the Giving Spirit bottle for one, and oh, maybe it doesn't say what it is. So I'm guessing everybody will figure out what this is right off the nose. Graham's already on it, but give it a nose if you haven't, and see if you can figure it out too. Really nice orange rind notes right off the hop for me, and just a touch of fennel on there.
You know, I think the giveaway, Evan, is the title on the blue line.
Yeah,
So we're not giving away the
that's
fact
right.
that this is gin.
Yeah, so it is a gin. We'll talk a little bit about where this is from second time. A few of you might have some ideas on that, but give it a nose and a taste and see what you think. This is bottled at 49.6% alcohol.
You know, I always thought it was funny with the Society gin bottlings. How do you decide what strength to bottle it at? Because
Yeah,
there is no cast strength. You probably don't want to do still strength. Um,
it
especially
would
if
be
you're,
cool if they did a couple Navy strength bottlings though.
yeah. I mean, 49.6% is still pretty punchy for gin. And
Hmm.
I mean, we've tried that. Like, I don't know if you've tried it, but like putting Navy strength gin into a gin and tonic, like you can't preserve the ratios, or it just doesn't, the
No,
balance doesn't really work right.
yeah. The upside is you have more left over. You don't have to pour as much in as you do a 40%er necessarily.
Very, very floral. Um,
Hmm.
Not just the juniper, but like rose petals. Um, it's
Yeah,
even a little vegetal. I noticed the tasting note mentioned
yeah.
carrots, but it reminds me of like kind of like green leaves in the spring on a tree.
Hmm. I can see carrots, like even carrot peels on there, but still get that fennel, coriander, licorice note, personally. Caraway as well. So a lot of the time when we've done a gin in the tasting, SMWS tasting in the past, I've kind of treated it as a palate cleanser, where I try and slot it in further along in the lineup just to break things up a little. With this one and this lineup, I just felt it didn't work, and that's why we're trying it at number one. It had to go either number one or number seven, in my opinion, and number seven just didn't quite work.
Well, we'll see. I mean, being a bit of a purist myself, and you know, not often having gin in a whiskey tasting lineup, um,
Mhm.
I kind of wonder if it should have been left to the end. But I take your point. Like, if we've got some peaty whiskeys or even something very sherry, you might not get the most out of it.
Yeah. Well,
But
let's put that one aside and delve into some whiskey.
all right, you sharing your screen, or do you want me to put it up? I've got the.
If you want to put it up, and I'll talk about what it says. So number two is called Mosey Along the Pathway. Started its entire life was spent in a first fill ex bourbon barrel. 1st of August for the distillation date. 90 bottles, which is pretty minuscule for the Outturn. 55.7% alcohol.
It's got some nice nutty tones. Like,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
it's
very malty up front with a little, it's like a beer is fermenting in the background there.
yeah, it does have kind of like an English ale
Hmm.
nose to it.
Yeah, getting a lot of those floral and yeasty notes right now.
it's got I jumped ahead to the palate, just finding the nose, and it could be following the gin or
Mhm.
temperature, humidity, whatever it is. I found the nose kind of shy. The palate's lovely. It's got this nice
Oh,
waxy, like funky, uh, cheesy, fruity thing going on.
yeah. Yeah, juicy as well. Like there's a touch of spice and dryness on the finish, but it's not over the top. Um, Finish is really interesting too. It's got, and I was trying to figure this out when I kind of set the order. There's something on the finish that reminds me of peat. There's a like a dunnagey mushroom note to it. I'm not going to say it's smoky, but there's something evocative of it for me, which is not typical of this distillery. I was wondering if it was coming from the cask or maybe just maybe because at 90 bottles, maybe this was a super leaky cask and it was getting some more air. I'm not sure,
Yeah, just the
but
bare.
I like that musty note that it has there.
Mhm. Yeah, this is a surprising whiskey. Because on the one hand, it seems young, but on the other hand, all the edges have kind of been rounded out quite nicely.
Yeah, it has these oxidized notes of an older whiskey almost, or a whiskey that's been in the bottle for a while. Really soft fruit notes. Everything is really well. Does have earmarks of a specific distillery, I think, based on having other bottlings from them, but we'll get through that on the second go round.
Yeah, I can kind of see that, but
Mhm. I'm the
it,
guy with the cheat sheet, so I kind of,
yeah,
yeah.
fair. I was gonna say though, this well, I won't say it because I've said it many times before, but this distillery also seems to be many things to many people.
Absolutely. So it's a good starter whiskey, even though we
Mhm.
started with gin.
Yeah, nice starting point. I would say a
Yep.
nice palate cleanser, but that's
Hmm.
just my whiskey, bias creeping in there.
Good call.
Yeah,
Got rid of the gin for you.
it did. Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm refreshed and ready to roll.
Right on. Well, let's on the lightning round, let's go on to number three. And this one has a one of the cooler labels, I think, from their blend series that the society has done. This is called Scarlett Marzipan. Um, Almost has like a Renaissance area painting in the background of a lady in a red dress. Um, from First and Refill American Oak and Spanish Oak Oloroso butts. Thanks, Andrew. 10 years old. A birthday bottle for me from the 13th of June,
Oh,
2013.
which
Uh,
Evan
yeah,
or
that the date and the month, not the year. Otherwise, I
no,
would not be doing this tasting.
but we still haven't celebrated your birthday from last month,
That's true.
so
Tried to hide it, but
we need to we need to refresh that we need to bring that full circle.
that's right.
This is like really nutty, like uh
Hmm.
has that really dry, nutty Oloroso profile to it.
Yeah,
Um
it does
and
have like a marzipan almond paste hit on the nose as well.
definitely like burnt sugar,
Yeah,
caramel. Um
fudge.
I'm also getting like a little bit of manure on this one.
Yeah, I could see that. There is something kind of farmy in there.
Like I think our friend Kurt would scream sulfur on this one, but I'm not sure it's sulfur. I think it's
Yeah.
it's more of a farmy kind of a farmy stank.
Hmm. So this is, it does say it right there. This is a blended malt. So it's not from one single distillery. Mm.
Mm.
It's nice. The sherry's not, maybe it's a 50%, but the sherry's not like gloopy and over the top.
Um, Evan, it seems I shared the wrong slide there. I shared the full information version. So someone
Nice.
caught on to that. Maybe others did not.
I was wondering because I did say 2013 after looking at
Yeah.
your slide there.
You know
All
what?
good.
Things happen. I'm an amateur in these society tastings now. It's been so long since dragged out of retirement, brought in from the field to perform.
hmm Uh, cranberries and craisins right now on the nose and the palate for me. Still has a nice nuttiness and some toffee and butterscotch in there too.
It tastes like if someone took those like apples and cherries and then put them in a well-used skillet and like
hmm
started to like, I don't know, maybe put in a bit of maple syrup and just started to like really roast them. That's kind of where it goes for me. There's this burnt
Yeah,
note that's really prevalent.
it's kind of like sherry Edderdour meets sherry Tamdu
Mm.
in the middle somewhere for me right now.
I think there's a bit of Glenrothes on that too, though.
Yeah, I can see where you're going. Chris Walker says kind of tasty, a little chocolate note too.
Definitely some chocolate. It's bitter chocolate though, like baker's chocolate,
hmm
not eaten chocolate.
Yeah. Yeah, it does go into like chocolate bear's paws from Banff notes on there as well on the finish. Those fudgy notes.
Not having small children, that is a note that goes well above my head.
Mhm. Yeah, it's amazing what my children have done for my palate, that's for sure.
Yeah, interesting.
Okay,
Um,
next up, or
yeah.
sorry, go ahead, Andrew.
No, I was gonna say I'll try to make sure I share the correct version this time. Got it.
So, well, Andrew's getting that lined up. Number five, or pardon me, number four is called Yee-haw. Started its life in an ex-bourbon hogshead. Final cask was a first fill Oloroso hogshead. 3rd of February for the distillation date, 222 bottles. So the Outturn, 55.6% alcohol. Nothing super high ABV as of yet. Although I think that changes with the next one. Ooh, I like that nose. It's almost going into bourbon-esque territory with the cherry notes there for me.
Hmm. Something that reminds me of like a fresh load of laundry, like towels out of the dryer,
hmm
maybe with a
Yeah, I can
laundry
see that.
in there.
A little bit of leather jacket in there as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
Tobacco. And something just slightly floral in the background there too. Maybe
It's
go into
floral.
those. Sorry?
There's there's like a tomatoey,
Ooh.
slightly irony note to it too.
hmm Yeah. Yeah, good call. Mm. I yeah, Stampede Whiskey says Dan Allen. Uh Definitely with that name. Yee-haw. I remember really liking this one when I was going through for the order and stuff,
Mhm.
and it's still pretty good.
I'm I don't think this is a secret for a lot of people. I'm often a bit biased against finished whiskeys, at least over full term maturation. And part of that is I love refill cask whiskeys that are just left alone to do their thing. But
Yep.
this is a really nice example of sherry finishing. If I were to taste this blindly, I would have probably guessed Glenallachie. That this has
hmm
kind of a Glenallachie-esque vibe to it.
Yep. Yeah. Good Highland whiskey that's been re-racked, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the base of bourbon, and then you've got sort of, I don't want to say dumpy, but almost slightly dumpy sherry layered on top of it,
Mm.
but it's been done well. And I guess in the context of Glenallachie, They do a good job of that for what it is.
Absolutely.
I prefer, a more old school style sherry, but that's pretty hard to come by. So when it's done well in that new school style, it's great. I
Mhm.
think this one works really well.
Yeah. Uh, Chris Walker says palate for me is way better than the nose. I would agree. I like that palate a lot.
Mhm. It's got
Nose
an
has a
interesting,
little bit of a plasticine and Play-Doh notes going on right now.
it's an interesting combo for me of like glossette raisins and tomato paste.
Hmm.
I don't know, maybe you make a special curry out of that.
It would definitely be a special curry.
Yeah.
It's glossette raisins is the next thing that's gonna take off on as a pizza topping after everybody gets over the dill pickle craze.
They should use that as a secret ingredient on one of those cooking shows.
That's right.
But like for the main course, not for dessert.
Hmm.
Follow it up with maybe junior mints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 5 is called At Home on the Range, keeping with our cowboy tradition, I guess here.
Mhm.
Started his life in an XO Oloroso butt, doubled down on the sherry and was finished in a second fill PX butt. 5th of November for the distillation date, 500 bottles from the Outturn, 66.9% alcohol.
Jesus. It's funny. This brings to mind something that I've heard a couple times now. Once in
Hmm.
regards to Glenallachie, but then also in regards to Tormore, which is
Hmm.
distilleries that had stock that was maturing in the high 60s because over the last 15 or so years, the price of wood has gotten out of control.
Yep.
So companies have been filling at still strength and not the standard 63 and a half. And what's interesting is I believe Glenallachie did this, but I know Tormore is doing this, is they've been proofing those whiskeys down once
Hmm.
ownership of the distillery because they feel they mature better at a lower ABV.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting idea. And there's been bits and pieces here and there. I think we talked about this when you guys were talking about that, you and Kurt, actually, in the tasting that was on. I think was that the Adelphi one?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. There have been indie bottlings from the society and from others from specific distilleries that there seems to be a run of high ABV, low age statements bottlings that come through from different independent bottlers. Glen Roth has had an era with Adelphi bottlings where they were all like 66 and 68% alcohol and just stupid, crazy, high, like heavily sherried, just young bombs of whiskey.
Mhm.
Um, Ben Nevis has had a few as well, I believe, from the society and from others.
I mean, the palate is surprisingly not rough for how high ABV this
Mhm.
is. I, the nose for me, I'm finding very shy. Like I can tell it's sherry, I can tell there's some spices and fruit, but I find the nose is almost like it's hard to pick anything out for it for me.
It's just alcohol. Like there's almost something gin-esque because of that cooling note that comes out from all the alcohol on it.
But it's not sharp, it's not rough. Like it's
No,
impressive how not in your face that is.
yeah. Uh, Chris Walker is on to me on this one. He always already says this is as good as it was when it was first turned out. This is a returning bottle. So it's one that we slotted into the lineup of 6 to make it 7.
Mhm.
Nose is better after a few drops, Derek says. I'm gonna add a few drops and just check that out the second time around here. Maybe I'll
You
try
know
it right
what?
now too.
I might I might play that game too. Let's see
Yeah.
what happens here.
Should be high alcohol enough that a bit of water is not gonna hurt it.
Even though it is sherry,
Yeah.
which is I don't you guys haven't heard my propaganda lately, but I generally find sherry whiskeys and water don't go well together. But I also don't think most whiskeys take water well anyway. So it's,
Mm-hmm. Doesn't really do much on the nose, honestly.
no, It's more orangey. I can get a bit of chocolate
Yeah.
off it. Though.
And chalkiness in there with the on the nose too, something minerality driven.
Mhm. It's nice. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm feeling at home drinking this dram. Um,
Yeah.
nice, like it's quite spicy to the finish. It reminds me of these like ginger cookies that were given to me when I was
Hmm.
over in England from Fortnum and Mason's. They're like a chocolate covered, like spicy ginger biscuit.
Ooh, that
And
sounds good.
they're very good. Shockingly expensive. I went onto the website to see how much they cost. And I was like, yeah, I don't think so. Um,
Yeah.
it reminds me of those. So nice palate. There's a bit of heat there, but it works well. Water did not do it any harm.
No, it didn't really do a lot to it. Maybe got a little bit more nutty on the finish for me with water.
It's a little meaty. Like this is I don't know, the finish is a little better now for me.
Hmm.
It's
It
got
does
a
have this creamy, almost like cashew nut note on the finish for me with water.
uh there's something that reminds me of like vegan cheese. I've only tried it once or twice, and I'm not using that as a negative. I know we're in Berta here, and that's probably not. But there's something that sort of reminds me of like artificial cheese.
Hmm. Yeah, vegan cheese doesn't sound like two words that should go together in any natural shape or form, but
Well, I did once go to V Burger to appease my better half,
nice.
and it wasn't terrible. Wasn't tremendous, but it wasn't terrible.
Hmm. Well, let's leave the cheese for a moment and go on to number six, which is called Rocking the Gravy Boat.
Oh, okay.
This again saw multiple casks in its aging. Initial casks were ex-bourbon hogsheads. Final cask was one singular first fill Oloroso ex Bodega butt. 3rd of April for the date. Outturn of 612 bottles, 57.5% alcohol.
Man, it's so like sandy.
Yeah,
Like
a little
wet.
bit of white wine in there right now for me as well. Like a oily Riesling on the nose right now.
Getting a bit of like lobster miso.
Ooh, that's a good call.
And I'm gonna throw people off here again with little chunks of soy in there, or
Hmm.
they are like little.
It's even got like a buttery sauce in there too.
Hmm.
A little bit of a charred Bertin note on the nose too, and some you're sharpening pencils and then lighting them on fire.
Forget about the nose, just go straight to the palate. Um, damn, like this,
Ooh.
I know what this is without knowing what it is, and
Hmm.
it's excellent. Um,
That's a nice palate.
it is a nice palate. It's buttery. There's nice malt notes there. There's some bright citrus fruit. You've still got that seafoody lobster bisque, lobster
Yep.
miso sort of note. Um, and yeah, I love how the barley is still so fresh and present
Oh,
in this.
it's yeah, it's really malt driven, and then like soy sauce or hoisin sauce again on there
Mm.
as well.
It reminds me of they used to send barley from Ardbeg peated barley malt rather up to Glenmorangie House in the Highlands, and they would make dinner rolls from a portion of
Cool,
this peated malt that was milled and mixed with the flour. And those warm Ardbeg buns out of the oven with a bit of like farm butter on them. Oh my God. You,
cool.
you died and gone to heaven.
There's finish wise, I was talking about the sharpening the pencil and then lighting it on fire. It's like you're chewing on that pencil at the end. Like it's got the graphite and the bit of wood, but it's not overly woody. It's just like a creamy charred wood note.
Hmm.
Well, I'm gonna try that one with water just for kicks.
All right, fine, Evan. God. Let's do this.
Chris, Johnny V says incredible. Chris Walker says star of the lineup so far.
That might not be incorrect.
Doesn't hurt the nose.
So it's like a little muddier
Yeah,
with water.
it's not as whiny as I was finding it the first time.
I'm I'm finding it a bit sharper now with water,
Fair.
interestingly. It's like it's broken the alcohol loose, and
Hmm.
I'm getting like malt, like a, what is it? Is it malted vinegar note to it?
Yeah,
Like kind of like a seafood, like a, fish and chips and malted vinegar on top.
there is like maybe because you're talking about it, but there is a bit of that on the palate now, I find, just before the finish. Even has that stinging note of a vinegar in on the palate, but it doesn't kill it. Um, doesn't make the sherry disjointed from the rest of the whiskey at all, which is nice too. I don't think it needs water, but I don't think water hurt it any either, personally.
That one could go either way,
Hmm.
but the barley is still there on the finish. I,
Yeah.
if I were going to vote, I'd say no water, no water for that, but
Hmm.
it's still a great dram even after it got drowned a little bit.
Okay, last but not least for the lightning round, let's go on to Chorizo Inferno. This is another two cask whiskey. Started its life in an ex-bourbon hogshead. Final cask was a second fill PX hogshead. 17th of October for the distillation date. 236 bottles for the Outturn, 58.6% alcohol.
I like that chorizo note. It reminds me of when I was in Porto years and years ago. One of the specialties they have is this local sausage thing where I think they put some sort of animal fat underneath the sausage, and they
Ooh,
literally fry the sausage right in front of you, like on this little dish. And it just reminds me of like that meat slowly kind of melting uh, as it got cooked.
yeah. And then they just use your saliva as a sauce as you're drooling over it,
Well,
essentially, I guess.
there was a bit of a wind, and I almost caught my beard on fire. But it was a cool
Good times.
effect to have the sausage literally grilling in front of you in whatever
Hmm.
fat that was they were using to cook it.
Johnny V is thankful for all the cherry tonight.
Oh.
This one also has some coastal notes in there. It does have a little bit more of a farminess right up on the nose for me. Some apples and bananas in there too.
Very malt forward, a little bit of like cherry nibs and strawberry Twizzlers on the palate.
Hmm.
Um, Still has that meatiness there, but it's a nice meatiness and like a syrupy, not quite maple syrup, but some other kind of like golden syrup.
Yeah. Yeah, almost into like a light honey note. So when I set the lineup order, I actually figured that this one was going to go before number six. I think it's actually a little bit lighter on the palate, but it's just a bit more peat and sweet driven versus number six for me right now.
I think the order was right because the
Hmm.
the prior one was a bit more on the naked side, oak
Hmm.
wise. Even
This
though
has a really
it
nice applesauce note right now, actually, on the nose for me.
applesauce.
Again, I blame my kids.
Yeah.
Even into like an apple pie crumb or an apple crumble note on the palate. Ooh. That's a good one. Chris says new star of the lineup. That's a toughie to pick between the number 6 and 7 for me. I think 7 slightly wins out, but I kind of feel like Andrew's gonna go with 6, but I could be wrong.
You're onto something.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, I like 7, but and 7's or 6 is quite tardy now.
Mhm.
I just don't find 7 is the full package the way that 6 is the full package.
If you go back and nose 6 after 7, it's like opening a bag of Funyuns. Or those sour cream and onion rings that Old Dutch makes.
Mm.
Derek agrees with me.
Whatever happened to those like wasn't there like some kind of pig one? You know what I'm talking about? Like it was like a kind of chip. I don't remember what the hell they're called. Someone help me out here. I'm gonna have to put some thought into this. It's like a chip, but I thought it had animal fat somehow incorporated into it.
Hmm.
Anyway, no one's
I'm
jumping.
intrigued.
Not shrimp crackers, not piggy puffs. I like that. If that's not a thing, pork rinds. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
It reminds me of pork rinds.
I think the pink must be a food dye because I've seen pork rinds that aren't pink.
Oh, I don't know if they're pink.
Oh, I thought you said pink, pardon me.
No, I mean, it was just in my head. I'm like trying, but like, when's the last time anybody saw a bag of pork rinds? Like, did they get canceled?
I think Chris is onto something. I think they actually, if you go to Costco at least, they've been replaced by shrimp flavored everything when it comes to dried fruit snacks.
Okay, well,
I'm before we do the reveal here, I'm just going backwards through the lineup since I went to rocking the gravy boats. I'm back to at home on the range, and the nose is a bit more vibrant after doing those peated whiskeys. A lot more fruity.
still very nutty. A little bit of cheese.
Mm-hmm.
I still think it's more of a vegan cheese than a natural cheese.
There's
Why do I see that? Is that less triggering for people if I say it's a plant-based cheese flavor?
yeah. Why is it just for vegans?
It's not. It's not.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a passion fruit and pineapple note on at home on the range on the palate right now. Oh, Yee-haw is just Twizzlers and nibs all over the place right now on the nose.
Evan, are you going backwards through the lineup so that you don't
Yeah.
have to start with the gin again, or what's the rationale here?
No, I just started by going back to that number 6, and I just figured I'd continue on for kicks for something different to do.
Scarlett Marzipan is now more kind of brimstone than farmy stank.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. Is that sulfur brimstone or like maybe the distillate?
Maybe just a tinge, but I think it's like spirit sulfur. I don't think it's cask
Yeah.
sulfur.
Yeah, I kind of think so
It's
too.
that meaty kind.
Yeah. Like it's got some worm tub in there or something.
Mhm. You know what? I think
Cool.
Mosey along holds up pretty well for me here.
No kidding. Going backwards and the nose is still beautiful.
I know my top 2. I just don't know what number 3 is yet.
Hmm. Yeah, nice bit of white chocolate or even like a Greek yogurt note on going along with those slight cheesy notes on number 1 or number 2, sorry.
Mhm.
And the gin does still nose like a good gin.
I think I've got some tonic upstairs. I'm kind of feeling I should get it.
Yeah. Uh, Chris is getting angry at number 1 already. Luckily, he found other stuff to like in the lineup.
Well, In Chris's defense, I don't know that I want to taste this again because I'm worried it'll contaminate my palate to go back through the lineup.
I did it. It's I mean, my palate's already been contaminated with all the cereal and snack notes that I give out, so
Fruit Loops.
can't get any worse.
I get a bit of Fruit Loops on this.
Nice.
If like Fruit
Um,
Loops are contaminated with DEET.
that's Hoppy Fruit Loops, I would say.
Come on, Fruit Loops contaminated with DEET. That's a
Yeah,
pretty good tasting note, I
that
think.
that is a really good tasting note. It's, it sounds like Lefroy started making gin.
I mean, if you're a gin person though, like you want big in your face botanicals because those are the only
For
things that
sure.
creep out beyond the tonic or whatever you're mixing it into or the cocktail. But um it's a lovely gin. It's not my jam.
Hmm. IPA palate cleanser, says Chris Walker. Well, I guess we got to make these live. I haven't done that yet.
If
Uh,
you want, I can do that while you're.
sure.
Did you tag them all with the tasting thing?
Yeah, I did. So
Got
do
it.
you want me to give it or
No, I know what it is. I'll get them all squared away.
sounds good? So back to number one, uh, the gin number one. I do like the style, and I wonder if I'm getting to the point where, although they don't make this specific gin anymore, where I could figure out which distillery this comes from. Um, could be wrong, but this is a Holyrood gin. Probably not a shocker for people. Cask number is for Yearning for Bubbles is GN 6.3. Region is Edinburgh. Distilled on the 10th of September 2020. And it is from, I think it was their spice gin distillate, which or their spice gin style, which Holyrood no longer produces. They started life by doing 4 different versions of gin, including a spice gin, an Old Town or an Old Tom, as they called it, and uh, a dry gin, and then something else that's just slipping my memory. But they've
There's
kind of narrowed that down into the Height of Arrows gin, which is available now, and we do carry that. Also a good gin, but this is from their spice gin style, which wasn't as much super spicy as it was more fruity.
Mhm.
Um, and I quite like that gin, and I do like this one as well. So GN 6.3, 49.6% alcohol from Holyrood Distillery and 114.99.
Yeah, I guess we could say this is. I would say this is probably not your classic
No,
gin and tonic gin. This is more of a cocktail gin, or maybe just sipping it on ice.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, this is not. This isn't your grandma's G&T gin.
yeah. There's not a lot of classic gin out there anymore.
No,
It's
and I
gin
mean
has gone in very different ways.
the Holyrood Height of Arrows gin, I think
Mhm.
is an example of that. I mean, it's got juniper in it, but then it's what beeswax and sea salt are the
Yeah,
other.
yeah, not a lot of gin ingredients in that one.
Yeah, I see what you did there. Are you trying to create a new word, Evan?
It's already on our website. I've already
Oh,
created it.
gin ingredients. So
Yeah, it does appear on some gin
yeah,
descriptions.
we can add that to Isle Alternatives and
Yeah,
many other KWM
yeah,
coined words.
yeah. Parma Violence is the latest one, I think.
Hmm. No, there was some. No, with Parma. Yeah, Parma Violence. Right, Parma
Yeah,
Violence. Um, which I suppose is an overabundance of Parma Violence.
yeah. Or when you get tired of drinking like late 80s to mid 90s Bowmore.
Yeah, I'm not tired of that yet, but
Yeah, I don't know who is, honestly.
all
Okay,
right.
back to number 2 on the reveal round. And yeah, this is a gorgeous whiskey. My guess is, and you kind of alluded to it, this is probably in your top 2.
It is. Yeah, I really like this one. Um, am I throwing it up on the screen?
Yeah, go for it. As Andrew's doing this, Kelly and Rob did ask the Scotch Malt Whisky Society about the low outturn. Sometimes that'll happen when they sacrifice a cask for 100 millibottles. They don't think this was the case with this one, so they did ask the society why there were only 90 bottles of it. And society thought it was either a low fill or a very leaky cask that either leaked in warehouse or in transport. It does have a really sort of oxidized style to it on the palate. Like, not that 55% alcohol is high or low, but it doesn't show its alcohol heavily, and it's so well put together. It's incredible, especially when you see that number of 9 for the age. So this is 9 years old, distilled on the 1st of August 2013, from one of those chameleon distilleries, possibly the most chameleon of all distilleries, Glen Murray.
Yeah, I refer to it as the Chardonnay of whiskeys because it can be many different things. Like
Yep.
it takes well to like wine casks, sherry casks, bourbon casks, refill casks. It's a very interesting distillate, and it's very, very versatile.
Yep.
It does have some hallmarks, but to be honest, like it's and we've seen a lot of it in Chardonnay casks because
Yep.
they're filling a lot of Chardonnay casks for quite a while. But
yeah, there were a couple. There were a slew of toasted oak ones that I loved that were going into a little bit of a bourbon-esque territory, but coming out in the mid-20s. That were fantastic as well. It is just it seems like another distillery on Isla Kalila, it's almost impossible to mess up Glen Murray, I think. Okay, next up. Oh, and that bottle was 154.99. You guys probably saw that, 35.360. The 360th cask from Glen Murray. Crazy.
Something odd going on with Scarlett Marzipan. I got to go double check.
Yeah.
9629.
Okay, so Scarlett Marzipan still showing nicely in the glass. It's got the sherry's there on the nose, and it's kind of reintegrated. It's not going as farmy for me right now. Still a lot of Twizzlers and nibs, a lot of red fruit notes, maybe a little bit of like heavy distillate, akin to like a Glenrothes or something like that. This guy is from the Speyside and Highland regions, so a combination of regions. First and refill American oak and Spanish oak Oloroso butts on this one. 10 years old for the age, 13th of June 2013, you guys saw. And was the pricing the issue there, Andrew, or?
Yeah, for some reason, and people will appreciate why we can't sell it for this, but for some reason the price was listed as $0
Interesting.
on the website, and that is not the price listed in the point of sale, which is a little bizarre. But I'll put the whiskey up on the screen there for a moment. So I've had to archive this. If you'd like a bottle of it, you can email the store, and we'll get to the bottom of whatever gremlins or shenanigans are going on, or Russian troll farms have somehow changed the price to $0.
Yeah, that's odd.
Anyway, looking into it, don't have an answer. I'm afraid we have 0 bottles available at $0. Not even sure that would be legal. In fact, I know it would not be legal, but anyway.
Yeah, you can't sell it for less than wholesale.
Chris saying 155 is the price point.
Pretty much. Yeah, 154, you're right. Just checking on my end quickly here, just in case.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, I'm seeing that too. The only thing I can think of is maybe it did not get picked up enough to actually get all the information before it was archived or something, but you never know.
It's not super likely, but you never know.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll we'll find a way to get you guys bottles if you want them. Definitely email at your service at kensingtonwinemarket.com at that if you are looking for it. Let's go back to number 4, which is the most stampede of the bottles with the name Yee-haw. This is a distillery where I think I'm kind of slowly figuring out its style.
Smells like
Uh,
deep fried Mars bars, and it kind of tastes like them too.
it does have that fried note or burnt note to it for sure. So Yee-haw is from the Highlands. It is 14 years old from 2009. It says following 10 years in the next bourbon hogshead, we transferred this whiskey to a first fill Oloroso hogshead. Cask number is 68.116, and it is from Blair Athol Distillery.
It's interesting because I've tried 3 or 4 Blair Athols in the last week, all of which have like a tomatoey sort of note to them.
Yeah, there's this almost burnt or into like you're making a reduction note, like almost into tomato paste on it as well. That seems to be one of the hallmarks for some of this distillery stuff. I quite like that one though. I haven't been deep diving into sherry for a while, but I really enjoy that one personally. Back to the returning bottle, which is At Home on the Range. And yes, the price is $225. Thank you there, Chris. Almost like a light beer note on there now. Very, very nutty on the finish. So this is a returning bottle, as Chris Walker mentioned. This was originally released on in the October of 2023 Outturn last year. This guy is from the Highlands. It is 8 years old from the 5th of November 2013. Following 4 years in an ex-bourbon or ex-Oloroso butt, it was transferred to a second fill PX butt. And this is cask number 78.62. It was one of, I think, a pair of Ben Nevis bottlings that we got from the Scotch Malt Whisky Society last year.
Apologies.
And both of them were pretty burly drams.
Yeah. I'm a little behind here. I'm going to get that one up on the screen here in just a second.
No worries. Yeah, this was bottled under the spicy and dry moniker or color that the Scotch Malt Whisky Society has. It does have that spicy dryness, not a ton of juiciness on the finish there, but still some nice underlying fruit notes along with that big spice note.
Evan, would you suggest that you've been described as having a spicy dryness?
Yeah. I think my wife translates that to just annoying when it comes to my sense of humor, but
like a dry sense of
spicy
humor
dryness
with a spicy edge to it.
Yep.
I think that's a nice whiskey. I quite like it. I'm a little torn between that and the prior one, but I think they both work really well.
Yeah. Yeah, Yee-haw just slightly edges it out. It's got just a touch of like a combination of jam-filled donuts and sourdough starter right now on the nose. Yee-haw, if you go back to it.
Jam-filled donuts. I like the jam-filled donuts. Could you have a jam-filled sourdough donut?
Oh, that'd be good. Why doesn't Tim Hortons do that?
I don't know. I will say I'm
a good bakery.
I am a fan of the old-fashioned sour cream glazed. but you know, I'm an old man now, so
Caleb asking low stock. We do have we don't have as much of it left as we do the other new bottlings. I think we have another 6-pack in allocation, if I remember correctly.
right, yeah. So Caleb, low stock just means that's in store. So it means we have 1 or 2 bottles physically in the shop. But yeah, I believe Evan, when you picked this, there would have been at least 6 more available.
Yeah.
So we can get
Yeah.
more of those.
So I'm guessing, as does happen with a lot of Scotch malt whiskey society tastings, the last 2 are going to be big favorites for a lot of people. Let's go back to number 6 and talk about rocking the gravy boat. Man, that malty and barley and grain note is still just right up front on that one.
Mhm.
Still has a bit of that pork rinds and Funyuns note, sour cream, those sour cream and onion rings from Old Dutch still.
It's going into French onion soup now.
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, why don't they use Isla whiskey and French onion soup instead of sherry?
I didn't even know how you made French onion soup. Mm.
Yeah, this distillery always seems to get when it hits sherry casks like this hard ashiness on the palate, like where it's got this minerality with the ashiness built in. Probably due to the salt and saline, but man, that really works on this one.
You know,
So this is, as Andrew shares the screen here, 53.453, the 453rd cask of Kalila, bottled by the Scotch Malt Whiskey Society. Price on this one is 202 or 201.99. At the age of 7 years old, we combined 2 hogsheads from the same distillery into an ex-bodega sherry butt, and it is a total of 9 years old from the 3rd of April 2013. A
so
lot going on for a 9-year-old there.
yeah, and Kalila's often got either the bacon or the seafood note to it, or maybe the bacon seafood. Now I wasn't getting the bacon before, but now I'm getting almost more like an artificial bacon note, like not real
Yeah,
bacon.
like
Um,
iodized bacon bits.
yeah, or like I've never tried one, but I'm assuming, bacon strips, the bacon,
Mhm.
baked bacon for dogs. It's kind of
Yeah.
got that sort of aroma to it,
Mike
which
Bean B says this is the 2013 tasting.
I have been tempted to try bacon strips, but I haven't. I've just smelled them.
Yeah. I'm assuming they wouldn't hurt you like any more than actual bacon does, but
But Mike is saying bacon strips are not good. Well, I mean, now I know. Well, I don't know. Maybe I am still curious. I don't know. We'll
yeah.
see. We'll see what happens.
Mm. Very good whiskey.
Yeah, digging that one.
Okay, last but not least, let's go back to Chorizo Inferno, which that'd be a great name for a Portuguese Bee Gees cover band.
Yeah. Or, I mean, chorizo is quite common, I guess, I suppose, throughout the Latin world.
Yeah,
Scarlett Marzipan is fixed, by the way, everybody. I don't know why it
right
wasn't
on.
working before, but it is now working. Um, I mean, Evan, did you take that? Were you thinking back to the Life Aquatic and the guy on the deck playing David Bowie songs in Portuguese? Because
No, I was
um,
just taking Disco Inferno and chorizo sausage
I
and
mean,
putting them
I
together.
wouldn't mind hearing an acoustic version of Disco Inferno in Portuguese.
Yeah,
Um, anyway, if you haven't heard it, the soundtrack to the Life Aquatic is amazing. It's all David Bowie in Portuguese acoustic, but not
that's
David
amazing.
Bowie.
I still say the best Wes Anderson film is The Royal Tenenbaums.
That
But
is a classic. That is a classic. And also has, well, they all have good, soundtracks, but
Yep.
I'm a big fan of that. I must say though, I am also partial to uh what's the one at the private school? Is it Rushmore?
Yep.
Yeah, Rushmore is excellent too. Anyway, that's not why you're here. Evan, what do we do? Do we let them vote? Are we at that point yet?
Did we do the reveal on number 7? I don't think we did. Or did you share it?
I'm not sure I did. I might not have. Let me put it up on the screen.
So we are still on Isla, of course. This is again 9 years old, and from the 2013, from 2013, 17th of October for that one. This spent 5 years as an ex-bourbon hogshead and was transferred to a second fill PX hogshead for the remainder of its 9 years. It's a sister cast to 10.241, The Sound of Singing Sand from last month, which I absolutely adored. This is 10.255, the 255th fifth cast, pardon me, from Boonhaven, and in the style of Stoisha or Stisha, or however you want to say it, for their heavily peated spirit that was distilled at this time around, I think from around 2011 to whatever they changed to next after that. So peated Boonhaven wise, I love that younger Stisha style where it's especially an ex-bourbon, and that's what we got a bit more of from last month's. But this one with the sherry works really, really nicely as well. It always has this like brittle rigidity to it when it comes to peated Boonhaven, where it's almost like put together with a tower of grain that you could just jump in or tip over, with all those grain notes and the saltiness. And it's probably the distillate style that comes closest to Kalila on Isla for me.
Evan, when you use the words fragile rigidity together, for some reason it made me think of that cutting strip on the saran wrap or like aluminum thing where like it's rigid and sharp, but surprisingly fragile and comes off really easily, and then you're screwed.
Yep. Yeah, and then you're stuck looking for an X-Acto knife.
Yeah, or you try to put it back and you cut your hand on it for some reason.
So still number 6 out of the two peated ones for you, Andrew?
Well, I mean, I don't want to tell people my favorites before they've had a chance to vote. I mean, that just wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be prudent.
Yeah. So with the society tastings, we don't do a vote, but you guys are more than welcome to shout out your favorites. Andrew, I think I know what yours are, but you want to go ahead and reveal?
Well, I actually want you to. Well, you probably know two. I'm curious what you think my favorites are.
So I think your favorites are 2 and 6.
And
I think number 2 just slightly beats number 6.
Interesting. What would you think my third was?
I am going to say, ooh, that's a toughie. I think you would take number 4.
Wow, man, you've got me pinned down, Evan. I am on the fence over whether I like 2 better than 6, but I do think I like 2 better than 6 because it's
it's a killer dram.
I love that oxidative style. It's exaggeratedly oxidative. Like it doesn't taste like a young whiskey. It tastes like something in its teens.
It doesn't.
I quite like that. And yeah, the Kalila from the back end stole the show. At Home on the Range was really starting to grow on me, but yeah, Yee-haw for my third was that was the ticket. I mean, I'm guessing your favorite was number 7.
Yes, and then followed by number 4 and then number 2.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I was actually gonna go number 5 and 2 for you. Well, we're on the
I
same
do,
page,
yeah,
more or less for
yeah.
two of those.
Yeah, it's no secret that I pretty much wait for you to say your favorites and then pick something else, uh, most of the time. But,
I, I respect that. Though you should just pick
but,
whatever your favorite is.
yeah, I did want to mention since, and this is a little bit of an offshoot here, but, because I think we still have some. Speaking of oxidated bottles, I just want to share this because I don't think people have picked up on this enough. Uh, if you want an idea of what an older, more oxidated bottling can taste like and what can happen, you guys should take a look at this mini bottle we have. So this is a bottling that we had in our 2022 whiskey calendar. The last calendar we did before we started pouring our own last year, for the 2023 whiskey calendar. This is a bottling of Glendronach 12, and I believe, and you can't see it in the photo here, but the dates on this photo, if I remember correctly, are 2012 for the bottling date. So
Mhm.
this is, even though we're used to the new Glendronach style that it slightly changed after Billy Walker. This is a Billy Walker bottling of Glendronach 12, that has had time to have some oxygen contact and is just absolutely gorgeous. If you're looking for like an old school, well, not I guess old school, but an older oxidated style of sherry cask whiskey that's done really well.
Hmm.
It's a fantastic, fantastic mini bottle. We only have mini bottles of it. If you want to have some fun, try this against the new Glendronach 12, which I think is actually on the upswing, and
Well,
has been getting better over the last year.
that's promising because the 15 has been on a steep downswing.
Yeah,
So
well, it's they don't have the enough 18-year-old whiskey to put into that 15 anymore, I think is the problem.
I suppose, but how is Glen able to bottle a far superior 15?
True.
I mean,
It's good old Billy Walker, I guess.
yeah, he's Billy Walkering things. I love Adam and Lindsay's votes. They've given us the breakdown of all seven. One of them is not in the same league, which is
Yeah.
fair.
I can't believe that they're saying one is so much better than everything else. Like
Yeah,
look at all those dots in between the rest of the lineup.
it's just it's head and shoulders. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know what cactuses smell like, but the gin now smells to me like what I imagine like a cactus candy would smell like.
Hmm.
It's kind of prickly and I
It
don't know.
does have almost like an agave syrup quality to it.